start off by saying I consider myself fortunate to work in a company that has a stronghold in many different industries, such as banking, insurance, retail, publishing. Insurance I already said that, but and also e-commerce. Because they all kind of have their own specific prerequisites and ways to work. But there's this one industry, and that's why we're here today. From my perspective as a supplier of an omni-channel platform, a car marketing hub, we've seen that there's one industry that has led the development, and that's the gaming industry. And it's been somewhat of a standard bearer, in regards to pushing boundaries, to pushing development, to pushing engagement, and also kind of possessing the drive that needs to be there in order to really succeed. And I believe that, a lot of industries are kind of glancing over to what the e-commerce, the gaming industry are doing, to get a better understanding of what, what lies ahead, or at least what should lie ahead. So with me here today, I have Paul from Ellmount Interactive. You have quite a few years under your belt in the gaming industry. Well, let's not go into that. We're the same age, so that's a problem. Shut up. No, but what I was kind of hoping, you could maybe help us shed some light to the trends that have, led you to where you are in your industry today, and also maybe kind of elaborate on how you've gotten there.
Sure. I mean, it's lovely to be here. My name's Paul Crisp. I'm a product owner at Ellmount Interactive, providing casino solutions, sportsbook solutions, things for various sites. I just wanted to say, thank you, Fatima, for a very charming intro. We're going to look ahead, absolutely, but before we do that, I just wanted to kind of look back a little bit and speak about something which I've kind of named sort of marginalised web industries, if you like. And these industries, for better or for worse, have at times been kind of trend setters. The more kind of established e-handle branches are looked at to sort of find out what's going on. And when I'm talking about marginalised industries, I mean digital adult content or entertainment, pornography with other words, online gaming, sportsbook, social gaming, even video gaming up to a couple of years ago. It's obviously made huge strides now into becoming more mainstream. But certainly, say 5-6 years ago, it was still considered, basically on the fringes of what you would consider mainstream. One thing for the sake of full disclosure, I'm liberal when it comes to these type of things. I'm not going to ask for a show of hands of who's kind of entered these websites or take a look at or indulge in various industries. I think it's completely up to yourself. But one thing is the fact that they exist. They're here and they're now. And if you look at the market caps of some of these companies, they exist in a really, really big way. And one key item I want to underline, the theme, if you will, that's come up from that is these companies are obviously entirely digital, if you know what I mean. They're not selling a physical product in terms of sportswear or homeware or whatever it is, even not selling an unphysical product like banking, insurance, the finance sector. These things have existed, these industries, and they've had to adapt to the internet, and painfully in some cases, certainly probably with banking. Whereas companies like social gaming, online gaming, that type of thing has actually grown out of the internet. They haven't had to adapt to it.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point you make there. But what would you say are the key differences in say like native digital companies such as your own, compared to the more adaptive, the established kind of industry selling physical products online?
Sure. I mean, I'd say knowing your customer is probably the most immediately obvious one. Companies that work entirely digitally are far better equipped, or have an advantage at least in terms of measuring, an entire life cycle of a customer, an entire engagement of a customer. Even with kind of rudimentary technical knowledge, you can install something like Google Analytics and immediately get crucial insight into what your customers are doing. And I mean by in the sense that you can see what the customer sees, just something as simple as that to dedicate time to find out, a simple technical parameter like, is the browser old, is it showing badly, is it geolocation have something to do with it? There's 101 things which you probably all know about A/B testing and kind of deal with it daily. You can test, but the one advantage is there is with something like social gaming, online gaming, you have the customer online constantly all the time. So every piece of user behaviour is recorded and measured.
But are you saying that physical companies don't have this, or is it simply that they're just not doing as well as you are?
It's not that they don't have it. I mean, traditional companies now, even newly launched products, have very robust, very well-oiled web presence. I mean, it would be insane to release a product now without kind of savvy internet presence.
Yeah.
But what I mean is, the site for them, the website, if you will, if you're selling something like sneakers, trainers, or whatever, that's the front shop, if you will. That's a chain, a link in the chain of what's being provided. Whereas if it's just digital content that's being consumed, or online games, digital games, you're able to follow the customer and get insights across the entire customer life journey.
So speaking of customers, and I just want to kind of revisit a few things you said earlier. How would you say customer satisfaction is kind of tied into an industry such as, say, digital adult entertainment?
Pornography.
Well, yeah, basically, yeah. But I just want to wrap up in nice words.
About pornography, obviously, but sometimes speaking about it. But I mean, it's customer satisfaction is probably the wrong word. What I mean is user behaviour is specifically what.
I was hoping you wouldn't get into this.
No,
let's go ahead.
Customer satisfaction is somewhere close to 100%.
Yeah.
But porn sites generate, more visitors per month than Amazon, Netflix, and Twitter combined. That is an enormous amount of data that they have, and it's probably, in some respects, unparalleled. And what I mean is, if a company selling physical products kind of had access to that type of information, I mean, just go look at my favourite trainers, so I bring up a lot of trainer kind of references. But if a company that was building trainers could see how tightly a certain age group laced their shoes, or how many eyelets they use, they can build a better product. They're getting constant product feedback, and I know people kind of think stuff like sort of porn sites where it exists on the periphery of everyday kind of mainstream consumption. But I think there are examples. There's an old tech folklore, if you will, that you had Betamax and VHS, which I don't know if any of you, some of you are probably old enough to remember. I remember I think a neighbour had Betamax. He kind of had like the one spool on it and stuff, and it was kind of a bit smaller than VHS. And there was a kind of format war, what was going to become the preeminent format. And the folklore says, or legend says, that the porn industry adapted VHS as the preeminent distributor for their content. Thus, the war was won. I mean, you can there's a lot of arguments for and against that. It's more of a fun story. And you can see it cropped up again with DVD, HD, and Blu-ray and all that. But what I mean is, I think it's naive to assume that these industries don't have an effect on everyday consumption, especially everyday kind of e-handle.
Yeah. Now, and I'm thinking, given what you said in regards to data, and when it comes to gaming or gambling, if you will, how would you say the industry is using, or maybe rather optimizing, the data today?
Well, I mean, essentially a tailored customer experience.
Yeah.
That's something you guys and girls, obviously, at Karma Marketing have been very good at, or very ahead of the curve. It says itself that your name has com in the front of it, and posts, which were kind of two really popular words back in the
we tried
exactly back in the before the .com boom and all that jazz. So it's mail often. That was the cry way back when I come from the kind of online poker background as well, which was obviously massive. In the early zeros or noughties or whatever they called that particular decade. I'm not entirely sure, but it was mail often, mail as much as you can, but the novelty wore off. Email became essentially a burden, much like paper junk mail became. So sites had to become savvy, they had to become targeted, they have to give relevant content. There's no point using up a piece of real estate on a newsletter, sending it to a customer group that isn't going to be interested in that product when you could interchange it. And again, it's something that kind of the marketing hub for us with Karma has enabled us to do previously, that you're able to kind of cross-segment just one single send-out. So you no longer have one send-out for one entire database, you actually have almost one send-out for one individual player. So it's to provide tailored, relevant, interesting content.
So kind of based on that, would you say that, online gaming, or maybe even, video gaming in some extent. Like, has that industry had any influence on the physical, the companies?
Sure. I mean, gamification is probably the primary example. Gamification is like the economy of engagement, and much like big data, it's one of these kind of fashionable terms that's bounded about massively, especially in our industry and stuff. I don't want to pretend to be an expert, but some companies, particularly like Samsung, for instance, have invested early, have adapted early to something like gamification. Samsung's in the business of shifting physical products. That's what they're there for. And they've used gamification to, for instance, improve reviews and things on their actual products, rewarding with badges and all that jazz. The thing is, they've married these two concepts. I mean, what does Samsung get from that? They get brand recognition, top of mind, and they also get retention. They get loyalty. And that's, I think, what most of us are out after. And to think that was derived from a concept which came essentially from social gaming, which we've all had kind of a long list of invites. Can we come and play this game from someone else? We kind of delete them out of our inbox variously. But it's the thing, they did something right, and it was used. And it's an example of traditional commerce, perhaps kind of looking into less establishment industries to find out what drives engagement.
So I mean, you've said a few interesting things. I'm just going to revisit what you said in the beginning there regarding, like, I'm glad you mentioned big data. Big data. I have one of my favorite quotes is, and this is, big data is like teenage sex. So it's like, everybody talks about it, nobody really knows how to do it. Everyone thinks everyone else is doing it, so naturally, everyone is claiming they're doing it.
Not just teenage sex.
Oh, okay.
But it's...
But I'm just like, we've all been teenagers, so that's something we can relate to, right? And as suppliers to quite a few e-commerce businesses, and where some of them are actually sitting here in front of us today. I'm seeing that, we've seen an increase in the demand of handling like larger chunks of data and how to, really drill down to the core of each like personal individual experience.
Yeah.
And I think it's really, it's great, and it's something that, we've had some, quite some experience of from the gaming industry. But I was thinking maybe you could just help us to kind of tell us a little bit about how you've applied it on your industry.
Yeah, I mean, it's even in these types of industries, even at Ellmount, it's still in its infancy. I mean, but big data again is one of those buzzwords that kind of gets bandied around and stuff. But it is critically important. It's essentially, kind of slightly unsexily, it's huge tracts of data that need to be compiled and computed and analysed. And basically, I mean, I think if you take an example of like a video game, or if somebody logs on to some kind of multiplayer video game and they play away 35 minutes or something, if you were to get like a raw data dump of what actually took place there, all the events, of all the transactions, it would be a huge list, just like 35 minutes. I mean, what's that over one day? What's that over a week or a month or over 100,000 players doing exactly that for 35 minutes? I mean, it's massive. So this is the thing, we go on about, you need to record, you need to record, you need to analyse, but at the same time, some of the sites, they have such enormous tracts, vats of data that it's inevitable you have to start employing things like business intelligence tools and business intelligence procedures to be able to go through that. So you can better target customers. I mean, does gender affect how a customer perceives a site? I mean, I would say it does. Does age definitely? Does geolocation? All of these things play a role. The more insight you have into it, the better you can tailor the experience.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point you make, really. I mean, we've seen from our experience, that our clients using Karma, they develop things like, tailored onboarding, or you mentioned, earlier, the customer journey.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the thing from the very first visit to a website, even before the very first registration, you kind of have this key data that you've already got that's going to basically enable you to enhance the customer experience, enhance customer satisfaction, enhance the bottom line basically of the product. And this kind of goes down to when's a customer going to go off, when's a customer going to come back on, and what are we doing right, what are we doing wrong. The trick is, I think, to kind of, or what personally I feel is going to be the next kind of bigger things about this beer, I think, is kind of predictive almost customer segmentation. So you know right from the get-go what's this customer likely to use.
Yeah. And I think talking about predictive customer segmentation, with Karma, we firmly believe that that the next step in our evolution, as an omni, channel platform is artificial intelligence, where in a not too distant future we're gonna offer intelligent segments, automatically created based on customer behavior or like input. So and if you think about that, it's actually quite amazing, what that really means. It would be, I have like 1 minute left, right? Okay, I'm just going to finish off here. So it's, it's retargeting, retargeting flows kicking in, at the exact right moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Or spotting churn before you even actually, before you lost the customer. Or like optimizing, flows in regards to deposits or maybe purchases for e-commerce. So, I think, just to kind of wrap this up, it's a lot of focus on the future is what we can do in our next step. But I think we've realized from your industry that you have a lot of data, and I think a lot of e-commerce companies actually do. And and I just felt like it would be we just need to I just kind of suggest we all kind of use it as much as we can. So I think there's a lot of talk about the future and what lies ahead, and I just want to summarize everything by saying I think we're there already. We are in the future. I think that's probably the bottom line here. So I'm feeling stressed now, and you're going to kick us out. So I'm just going to thank Paul for being on stage with me today and then kind of sharing your insights on this topic as well.
Theme plasters.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome, and thank you.
Thank you.
The button is finished, so